Hello everyone, you're listening to The Right Side of Gaming, and today we're talking about how to build a Golgari or black-green deck in Magic Legends. Just a reminder that this series is aimed more at newer players who may not have quite the extensive card library that some of the others might have, and who probably aren't looking so much at artifacts and equipment in determining their builds. They're just getting started, they're trying to figure out what to build out of what they've got, and these are just some ideas on ways that they can play that they can build on as they go. Now, one of the places where black and green overlap is hazards. Black has Wailing Souls, which is going to deal an AoE, and then create a hazard that's going to apply Lesser Snare. And you'll see things like Lesser Snare and Root being handy with hazards because it'll keep enemies in a specific location for more AoEs or hazards that you can just layer on top of them. Black has Desecrate, which is going to deal damage, and it's going to deal even more damage if you have something to sacrifice, which is kind of big in black. You have Shadow Barrage, which is going to deal damage, but it's also going to apply lesser weakness, which means that they'll take even more damage from your attacks. Abyssal Flame is going to deal damage, and it's going to deal a lot of damage, at least in my experience. I've definitely been having some fun with Abyssal Flame. You have Darksworn Cleric, who can create hazards as part of his just innate special ability every now and then. Green has Elven Assailant, which, I'll be honest, I've actually been enjoying. It's another one of those AoEs, it's going to deal damage, and it's going to apply Lesser Snare, which again is just going to try to keep them in that little area for you to just sort of stack stuff on top of. You have Choking Overgrowth, which can do even better than a Snare, but that slows them. I think Root is actually going to stop them. It's going to hold them in location, and it's going to deal damage. You have some rare options you can work towards, like Corpse Fiend, which is going to get stronger whenever a creature gets sacrificed, which honestly works really well with your Desecrate. And if you sacrifice enough creatures, he's going to create his own hazards. You also have Shadow Asylum, our new black-green card. I'm sure you're thinking, that's a rare. Yes, it is. But I don't necessarily put it on the same level as something like Corpse Fiend. His Shadow Asylum right now is a guaranteed reward for completing Chapter 4. So you might even put this sort of in with the commons and uncommons that we're really trying to focus on for those new players, because it is something that you know you're going to get. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it right off the bat, because you do have to work up to Chapter 4. But once you do, I mean, it fits right in with the theme, because it's going to create a hazard. It's going to deal damage, and whenever you or an ally enter the hazard for the first time, you're going to get greater resistance and hexproof, which is no slouch. You're going to resist damage a little bit yourself, so it gives you a little survivability in addition to putting out damage. I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, you waited to do this particular video until after you knew we got the black green card. No, not in the slightest. I was just being lazy. But it worked out for the best, so we're just going to pretend that I, correctly predicted that we were getting a black-green card and waited for a good time to do it. Another thing that black and green both have in common is life gain. In black, it's typically sort of stealing the life force of others, whereas green, it's like this sort of healing found in nature type of effect. So black has cards with things like lifelink, where they'll deal damage to the enemy, and then you will get healed by however much damage they deal. So Cabal Knight has that lifelink ability, as does Darksworn Cleric, who we mentioned just a minute ago, because he also has that hazard effect. You have Leech Outbreak, which is going to deal damage, and it's also going to heal you, except in this case it's going to be in an AoE. As well as Vicious Hunger, which is just a single target sort of lifesteal, because it's going to deal damage and then heal you. You have Blood Pact, an Unholy Boon that can give one of your creatures lifelink. And then green has just some straight up healing. You have Nourish, it's going to heal yourself. right off the bat, and then a heal over time effect. So you're going to continue to heal after that initial heal. And you're also going to be able to heal your creatures in addition to yourself. You have Refreshing Glade, which is going to create hazards, except that these don't deal damage or have negative effects to the other ones. Hazard is kind of like this catch-all for just something that you're putting out on the field. In this case, it is a hazard, but is not hazardous to you or the enemy. You put out the hazard, and you actually just get healed by going through it. I know some of the wording can probably be a little confusing for new players, but in this case, it's okay. This is just going to be one that heals you. And then, because you have all this life, you can maybe find ways to take advantage of it. A lot of black cards and some black equipment and artifacts are going to trigger or have you lose life in some ways. And you can see that in some other spells, like Damnable Pact. You're going to draw a card and lose life, and it's one that you can channel, so you can continue to just sort of hold down the button and pay more and draw another card, lose life. That's what this little X symbol means. So you can lose a pretty good chunk of your life, but draw back up your full hand. But it's not that big a deal if you have all these spells that are gaining you life. And then green, of course, has some rare life gain effects. You have Bloom of Life, which again is going to be one of those you can channel to heal even more. It's going to heal you and your allies. You have Essence Bond, which is going to make any healing you receive go to your creature, so you can kind of take advantage of all the life gain that way and sort of keep your creatures up. But the idea here is you're going to be able to gain life and either keep yourself up or maybe do something a little riskier and do sort of a pay life, gain life, and just sort of use it as another resource type of deal. Finally, I was trying to decide what the third theme was going to be, because I try to have at least 3 for these. And I was thinking, it could be something mechanical, but I think I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. People forget sometimes that this is a game. It's okay to do something that's just fun, even if it may not necessarily be as effective or coherent as the other 2 strategies. Sometimes it's okay to just do something a little interesting and flavorful, especially if it mixes things up. If there's one other thing that blue and green really do well, it's horror. They both have a ton of horror creatures. Black has all kinds of skeletons, and cards that create skeletons, and zombies. Green has spiders and werewolves. I mean, you are going to be able to do all sorts of things and just create sort of this horror movie type of effect if you really chose to. And then, yeah, you can invest in some stronger cards that, are zombies or skeletons or spiders, even rare werewolves. But the idea is it's not necessarily going to be centered around a specific mechanic so much as a flavor theme. Having swarms of zombies and spiders rushing at you can be pretty terrifying. That doesn't mean you can't make it effective. For example, when you get Open the Grave, doesn't matter what you have out there, it's going to net you a zombie when it dies, and you've got cards like Spider Nest that's going to create a bunch of spiders, and when they die, well, you'll get some zombies out of it. You can use something like Dread Overseer to buff up all those zombies, whether they're natural or spider-made. Either way, you've just got these swarms of enemies that tend to be ones that we see in horror movies or just think of as scary. And I think that's sort of a fun, different approach you can sort of take to the black-green deck if you're, want to mix things up and just have a little fun with it. That's all I had for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you'd like to leave a like, comment, subscribe, that'd be great. If not, that's okay too. I understand. Either way, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.